Welcome to the Tiny House Ideas podcast. This is episode 5 of the Tiny House Ideas podcast. Thank you for tuning in again. Today we're speaking to Elise Akin. Elise lives in her tiny house in Greenville in South Carolina, and she also runs her own business called Bake and Skate, which is literally a merge of her two favourite things, baking and skating. So we'll be talking about her tiny house, the tiny house building process, any tips and tricks she's got, and any advice coming from someone that lives in a tiny house to you guys if you're interested in living tiny in the future. And we'll also talk about how living tiny has really enabled her to follow her aspirations, to follow her dreams, and how living tiny can do the same for you. So stay tuned to hear more about Elise and her tiny living. Welcome to the Tiny House Ideas podcast, the show where we talk about how to live a more fulfilling life with less. My name's Harry Alvarez Garman, and I've got tons of exciting guests lined up for you, including authors, entrepreneurs, and tiny house owners. If you love minimalism, sustainable living, personal development, and everything in between, then you're in the right place. On this show, we'll be talking about how you can do more of what you love, how to turn your passion into a career, and how to live more sustainably. So joining us today, we've got Elise. If you'd like to introduce yourself for the Tiny House Ideas podcast.
Hi, I'm Elise Akin, and I am in Greenville, South Carolina, and I have a tiny house called La Cosita Bonita, sometimes called Ola Tiny House on here too.
Amazing. Brilliant. What inspired the names then?
I love how it's called the Pretty Little House. And so I have the words Ola the word Ola written outside on it. And so that Instagram name was available to be able to have Ola Tiny House out there.
Amazing.
So it's got a very Spanish theme to it. And so I wanted to be able to have that on the outside too.
Yeah. Okay. So sort of like the inside features Spanish theme, is it?
Yeah. I wanted to go for like a Miami tropical atmosphere with it. So I have some Spanish tiles, lots of tropical plants out here. So it's been really fun.
And how long have you been in the tiny house?
I moved in, I think, later part of 2019. And so I feel like I felt like I officially moved in December or January, but I was kind of moving things in back from Atlanta up here. So I want to say end of 2019. So almost a year.
Fair enough. Almost a year. Brilliant stuff. No, brilliant. So in this forest, have you got sort of anyone else nearby you, any neighbours, any other tiny houses around, or?
We are actually thinking about getting an Airstream sometime in the next 2 years or so. And because I have my house on the sweetest family's property. So I had posted in some group on Facebook about like tiny houses and looking for land to put mine. And he was like, we'd love to have multiple tiny houses in the future. And so we'd love to have you put your house on here. So it's like very minimal rent. It's the nicest family. Me and the mom are such good friends. I have 3 little kids that we just hang out with. And so they're pretty far. We're on the same like big driveway, but then their house is like far back there. So then I'm kind of in the middle of the woods. So I have a lot of space and privacy, but then we just like hang out whenever she comes and borrows ingredients. I go get ingredients from them. So it's been really nice to have like a neighborly aspect of everything, but still feeling like you have your own space out here too.
Exactly. Being able to do what you love. Yeah, no, exactly. Obviously, it's amazing. I mean, so many people sort of saying that they want to sort of pursue these dreams. They want to do what they enjoy every day and sort of don't want to wake up and go to this 9 to 5 that they don't want to be doing. So
yeah, exactly.
Really liberating. Just every day you can be as creative as you want, do whatever you want and work for yourself.
It is a blessing a lot. Sometimes it gets a little bit stressful, like having to make your own schedule and not having like a set salary. But that's one of those things where it's like the benefits far outweigh any kind of negatives of being like, we have the freedom to just take like a month-long honeymoon and go to Asia and just explore and then run our online businesses while we're there, put longboards on hold for a couple weeks. And so that's like lots of perks of it, and being able to go and then have other people film weddings for us while we're gone. And so it's been really fun. It can sometimes be a little bit stressful knowing that we are handling everything our own and making our own business. But the benefits far outweigh any kind of negative aspect of it.
So traveling, has that sort of influenced you wanting to go tiny? Did that sort of have an impact on you wanting to live in a smaller space?
Yeah, for sure. I used to live in Ghana in like 2013 and 2014. And like, it was so beautiful and it was so minimal. And it helped me realize for like a year of all the things that you don't really need. And like, I could live out of a suitcase for so long. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't need this many clothes. I need like 2 pairs of shoes. And like, in terms of being able to live in like a beautiful little hut, I was like, this is so nice. Like, I don't need you get to utilize all the space that you have. So being able to know that every square inch of this house is something that I like utilize every bit of it. And like, I love every space because I'm kind of forced to love it. Otherwise I was like, why am I having this space if I don't need it?
Exactly.
And so it's nice being able to, to appreciate everything. And Ghana really helped that too.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, because you've got full control. Obviously, if you went through the build process, you can choose where you want to live, where it works best for you, where the storage is. If you need a bigger wardrobe or a smaller pantry and things like that, it's just sort of works perfectly. So with the build of your tiny house, is that something that you guys did? Did you have it contracted out or did you buy it? Or
I did. I knew that I had wanted very specific things in it, whether it was like 2 lofts or a lot of light, or like a specific kitchen. I know that some tiny houses can have like a smaller kitchen or like a little refrigerator, but I know that I like to bake a lot and I like to cook a lot. So I was like, the thing that I wanted to have a bigger aspect of is to have like a full size refrigerator and a full size stove and oven so that I can cook things. And like the countertop too. So I knew that with so many things that I wanted to, what I would need to edit on a house that I already built, I was like, I feel like I should just build my own if I have a specific way that I already want it. And so that's what started me thinking about like how much of a creative space I wanted to make. So I was like, I should just build this. And then there are some like prefab tiny houses that you can get that are like very basic and pretty minimal that can cost a bit more. And so it was actually a lot more cost efficient for me to just design it exactly how I wanted it. So I sat down with a guy who built the frame of it. And so we made the blueprint and stuff together.
Yeah.
And then instead of hiring like a general contractor, I would do each individual thing myself. It did take me longer than I could have if I had just gotten like one person to do it. But of course, with speeding the building process, I had some speed bumps and like certain people who built it, maybe not doing it the best way that I think could have been done and cutting corners on things. So being able to like stop that process and get somebody who I thoroughly trusted with it. So being able to do like some individual people to do like electric and plumbing, and then somebody to do drywall, and then had help with flooring from like family members. So each little piece of it, I had a big say in, but in terms of like plumbing and electrical, there's no way that I would have done that myself, knowing that I had no idea what I'm doing. So I was like, I'll gladly hire somebody to do that.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. That makes sense. So how long was the process from start to finish? Then obviously you said there are a few speed bumps. How long did it take?
I want to say about a year. There was a few times where somebody who was building the frame of it was just about to have a baby. So the process for him to do that was longer than initially planned. So then realizing that like not a lot of it was getting done on that aspect. So then having to go through the process of like finding another person to pick up where that left off. That was probably the time that took the longest, of finding the people and then coming back and forth between Atlanta and Greenville to be able to meet the people to do it and do it in person. So that was the process of all the little details that took the most time in between. But whereas if I had had somebody just do it start to finish, they could have done it faster, but it would have cost me a bit more money to have like a general contractor with it. Plus, I get to be part of the whole process of it, of like, well, now I know how to do drywall. So I appreciate it a lot more.
And now you know for next time, you know all the things that go into it, all the things that people don't
see. Oh my gosh. Yes, and there's a lot of lessons I've learned for the next house that we build. But it'll be nice to do it with somebody.
Yeah, it'll be really nice. So I can imagine you've got it all streamlined. You can sort of learn everything from the build that you've got at the moment, and next time you can sort of streamline the process and work out how to do things differently. And obviously you've got a lot of experience to take away from that.
Yes, I've learned a lot, but I know that the next house I build, I will still be learning lots of things. So eventually we'll get it down, but at least I've learned things. I think the biggest lesson I've learned in building a house was do it right the first time, and then you don't have to pay for it twice. In terms of like my skylights, I skimped out and got not good skylights at first, and then bad storm came in and all my skylights leaked. So I was like, okay, if I had actually put the effort into getting really good installation and really good skylights, I wouldn't have had that issue. And then luckily I hadn't moved any furniture or anything in by then. It was just the very beginning. So it was good, but there's lots of stuff where I was like, okay, don't skimp out on the things that are very important. Like there are a few things that you can do furniture stuff. You can find really good deals on furniture and decorations, but in terms of like roofing and in electric, make sure you get it done right, and then you can have a peace of mind. Because for a while, every time it would rain, I'd be like, is it gonna leak again? And it's totally fine now, but at the same time, there was a good little while where I would just didn't have a peace every time it rained. I was like, well, hope I did it right.
To listen to the full episode of the Tiny House Ideas podcast, head to your favourite podcast streaming platform. It's available on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts. And alternatively, if you'd rather watch the full episode as a video, so the full conversation in a video format, that's only available on Patreon.